Hi friends, welcome back to another video/episode of the James Red Podcast. You may notice that we filmed a similar video to this very recently, and we decided we're just going to film another one, so we came up with another topic on the fly because we had so much fun. We want to talk about our favorite creators, some of our favorite creators, just noodle about that topic.
Maybe we'll discover something.
Maybe we'll discover something, yes. And why we like them, I think, is another important question to ask. So, name 14 of your favorite creators right now.
All right. I don't think I could do that, honestly, off the top of my head.
Well, and the crazy thing is that you definitely have 14 creators that you follow, right?
Yes.
And that you enjoy, and if you met them, you might cry a little bit.
Maybe.
Right. But when pressed with the question, you go, oh my gosh, who is my favorite or one of my favorite creators? Do you have enough arm room?
I got plenty of arm room.
Good. Okay. I know you're a tall, lanky fellow like myself, so it's good to just make sure we have what we need here.
Good.
Makes the conversation better. First off, we're both photographers here.
Yep.
What is your favorite or one of your favorite photographers?
Samuel Elkins. Do you follow him?
Oh, he lives here.
Did.
He
moved.
He moved to California, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, okay. And he does a lot of portrait / maybe some landscape work. Is that correct?
Mostly portrait.
Okay.
Like 98% portrait, I think.
Gotcha. Okay. What is beautiful about his work? I'm curious.
Something sticks out about it that I can't really figure out, but I like how his photos are soft. A lot of people tend to go into Lightroom and then like take the clarity slider and just up to 100.
Yeah.
And that kind of got tiring. And he watched a few tutorials on like how to edit like him.
There are styles that age well.
Yeah.
And there are styles that don't.
Yeah. I think what he's doing kind of mimics film in a way where it's like really soft and there's some like warmer tones to it. And I think, I don't know, it's just refreshing to see.
Cool.
And a lot of people are copying him because he's really big, but.
But right from the beginning, I'm now tasked with the challenge of putting everybody we mention in the description, so that will be there.
Have fun with that.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite. Okay. So my favorite photographer, as I've mentioned many times on this channel, is Steve McCurry. Do you know who Steve McCurry is?
Sounds familiar.
Okay. So how dare you? No, I'm just. So he's a photojournalist, and so and you're more focused in maybe a different realm of photography than I find myself focused in a lot of times. So what I'm doing is street photography, and it tends to feel much more raw, but I do like a sense of polish in what I do as well. But
definitely street photography kind of has like a more photojournalistic
to
it.
Yeah. And that's why I like it. It's the most accessible form of photojournalism. Yeah. And you so easily find people downtown if you're a street photographer. It's much harder to find it becomes harder to find people in any other type of environment on Earth, right? So Steve McCurry is a photojournalist, a prolific photojournalist. He is the one who took the famous photo of the Afghan girl.
Oh, okay. Then I do know him.
Yes. So you know of him, you just didn't know him. His work is ridiculous. Just by mere fact of the Afghan,
is insane.
One of the greatest, maybe the greatest portrait ever taken. This is so good, and the story of that is also fascinating. But his work is everything that I want to be in a photographer. So if you look at his Instagram page, just go, James wants to try to pull that off.
All right.
And then you'll probably go, oh, good luck, James.
Have fun, bud.
I hope that works out for you. Maybe by the time you're 50, you'll be somewhere close. But the way he works with people in a candid fashion in these really exotic environments. He's taking a lot of photos in Afghanistan. He's taking a lot of photos in India, all over the place, America, all over the place. And the placement of the people in the frame, their expressions is where he is so he's so prolific.
Right.
People, in perfect strides, or maybe not perfect strides, but in a different kind of fashion that just really works well. Right. The organization of a bunch of people in a frame in a way that makes sense and is absolutely aesthetically beautiful, right? I love that. But his work is also very meaningful because he he is taking photos of people from all around the world that are beautiful and interesting, and they all have stories to them, and he's able to capture that. And the only thing that you'll find, well, so I think sometimes he'll put captions of what's actually going on in the frame to give some context, but sometimes I'm fairly positive the context is very simple, but the photo stands on its own, and you're able to grab a beautiful context of their environment and who they are and what, something about their life that they're living. He's sort of a middle ground photographer where you have the person in the frame, but their environment is just as much a part of the image as they are. Right. But he can also take a ridiculously unique portrait, as we see with like the Afghan girl photo. He has this interesting style that is, you can tell that the people know that you're taking their photo and that it's somewhat posed, but it's extremely natural. I feel like, can you slide that camera over just a hair? I feel like it's going to fall off. Great. Okay, now the shots, I don't even know what happened to that shot.
Oh, wow. Does he shoot on film or digital?
I'm not into quality around here.
Does he shoot in film or digital?
He used to shoot on film, and now he has moved over to digital. But I actually got an email from somebody asking me how he pulls off his tones in Lightroom. And the gist of my response was, I have no freaking idea. Because
Ask him.
It's beautiful, and it's very National Geographic. The tones are very filmic, and that's another thing I love about his work, is that they're not these sort of dry, accurate tones that you see from a lot of photographers.
I'm curious what kind of post-processing he did on the Afghan girl.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm assuming that one was taken on film. I may be wrong, but he took that one, a long time ago, obviously. Yeah. Now that woman is actually fully grown, or older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember reading something about like her now.
They found her. Yeah, and then she got into all sorts of issues with like her house or something. Like they tried to take her house away. I forget exactly what happened, but
Afghanistan, dude.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I hear the real estate's really great out there. But his, he's a very versatile photographer in a sense, but he's also very specific, and he takes photos from a vast expanse of different environments and people, but at the same time they feel very cohesive, which is hard to do. Yeah. Like if you're looking at an Instagram feed, it's hard to pull that off when you shoot all of the different types of things he does. So it's like he's this perfect middle ground between diversity and curation. Yeah. It's really amazing.
That's hard to pull off.
So that was all the questions that I had regarding like the value of their work in one. So we'll move on. Did you have any other photographers that you want to touch on?
There's a few film photographers, but I don't know how deep I could get into their work. I guess I could mention Joe Greer and then George something from Negative Feedback.
George something.
I'll send it to you.
Okay.
He has a YouTube channel called Negative Feedback.
I know him from his YouTube channel.
Yes, that guy.
His photos are really interesting. They're sort of eclectic.
I like how he takes like really mundane things and somehow makes it really cool looking.
He's primarily like landscape stuff, right?
Yeah. When he comes to America and does just like the rural American film photography, it just he'll take a picture of like a freaking Walgreens and make it look good or something. It's insane.
I'll mention another somebody who does that type of rural photography stuff I really enjoy. They live around here. I don't know the name of the actual person, but their username is Great Basin. Have you ever found them?
Great Basin sounds familiar. I think I followed them at one point.
So they're on Instagram. I don't even know the gender of the human being, but their photos are very much sort of beauty in the mundane type of stuff. Awesome. And so there may be a photo of a factory and a photo of there's one where it's a photo of, you see in the background, you see a valley that is notorious Utah Valley with nothing in it, right? And then it's on the side of a mountain looking down, the mountains in the foreground, and then the valleys in the background. And there's just this unassuming spot on a mountain with a traffic cone in it. But it's so beautiful, awesome. And this is where the fundamentals of framing come into play. Right. And a lot of these photographers do this so well, a lot of times with their iPhone. And this is why I think it's a good idea to shoot with your iPhone and play with your iPhone no matter what kind of photography you like to do, because it's just a good way to round up your fundamentals. And these people kill it on composition. And a lot of times the compositions are super bizarre. Right. They don't necessarily make sense, but they just work because they have the eye for it.
Yep. But I think shooting on an iPhone is important to do every once in a while because it kind of forces you into a box. It's almost like shooting on a prime lens on the camera because you can't stand in one spot and then just zoom in to get the composition. You have to like walk up to it. It makes you like move around your subject a bit more. So.
And of course there's a enormous difference between zooming in to frame and remove clutter and actually changing your position. It fundamentally changes the photo. Okay, moving on. What is a favorite YouTube creator of yours? Do you know what YouTube is?
No, what is it?
This is where
it's like a play button on the logo, right?
Right. So it is where you share. Have you ever heard of Flickr?
Oh yeah, Flickr.
Okay, or MySpace even.
MySpace back in the day.
We'll say Flickr. So Flickr, you share photos on Flickr. I know what a photo is. So you share photos on Flickr, and they are these sort of images that don't move.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, you can comment below. You can maybe share them with a friend if you wanted to via another place. Like there's a platform called Twitter. You can share your photo from Flickr there. And this can get out of hand. It's
already out of hand.
I'm just letting you know. This is only the beginning. So you share it on Twitter, and maybe their friends take that and they send over to Facebook. That's the thing. So anyway, you have Flickr. Okay, YouTube is like that, but everything is censored. I'm just kidding.
And no one makes any money.
Everything's demonetized. It's like that, but video form.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Flickr, but video form.
Okay.
So, who is your favorite creator on that platform that you've never used before?
I'm reluctant to talk about it because we were just talking about it.
Please go again.
Kraig Adams right now.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. And what? Well, first off, what is aesthetically beautiful about his work?
So basically, it's very. Oh man, this is hard to explain. I like how
it's nuanced.
Basically, like a static shot.
Yeah.
And he's touched on this a bit, but he gets a stabilizer and then takes that static shot and just adds a little bit of movement to it. And he uses a lot of classical scores from movies, which ends up
like his long form Japan vlog. That whole thing was classical. What, violin or piano music? I
just love how
really special.
Somehow goes from like beautiful sequence to like 15 seconds of like weird goofiness back right into it, and it just somehow is like 20 to 40 minutes of just like ebb and flow.
He's got very bizarre humor
too. It works so well though. Somehow he stitches it all together, and it's just like you don't realize that you're going from scene to scene until you're done, and you're like, how the hell did I get here? And
just ripped my pants. Did you break my desk?
Oh, okay. Ripped my
look, it's more.
It's more of a hole.
You're way more like poser now, I think is what they call it.
Hello. But yeah, I just love how they flow, and they're beautifully scored and shot, and somehow he just makes these extremely cohesive and well-flowing videos that I can't wrap my head around.
He's got a lot of subtle nuance to what he's up to, and I think that comes from him being a filmmaker and his time as a wedding filmmaker as well. And
I just like his overall online presence too.
Yeah,
I think it's cool.
Yeah. And he's also, like we were mentioning in the previous video, he's a pretty laid back kind of guy, which is a nice change of pace. Cool. Yeah, I like his stuff too. I find myself watching whenever he puts something out, and I'm just sitting down, I'm scrolling through, I'll go, oh, that's probably interesting. Yeah. Minimalism. What does that mean? Okay, so one of my favorite YouTube, I don't have a favorite, I don't think.
Yeah, that's hard to say.
That's really difficult.
Casey Neistat.
But Peter McKinnon. One of my favorites would probably be, he's just an all-time favorite, and I mentioned him in the last one, but I'll mention him in way more detail because it's like the band that okay, so my favorite band of all time, this is a really interesting one. Have you ever heard of Under Oath?
Mm-mm.
Okay, their band, they were a hardcore band. They've changed their sound now, but they're a hardcore band, but like a really unique and beautiful hardcore band, and their music was crafted in a way that is feels almost classical. in a sense. People may disagree with me on this, but there's no, you don't know where the chorus is in the song.
Right.
Like it's just, it doesn't have the same sort of, it doesn't rely on the same sort of traditions of hardcore music, which is just like the da 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 da, and like the double kick pedals and this sort of thing. It's just really beautiful music to me. But it's intense. I mean, it's like, it's a lot of stuff going on. Lots of electric guitars and stuff. But I love, like, that energy is just, like, sometimes I need some of that. It's really nice. Okay, so Under Oath was not a band for a while. They stopped being a band.
Right.
My favorite drummer is, that was another question. My favorite drummer is Aaron Gillespie. He's been the drummer for Under Oath since the beginning. But anyway, they got back together. But they broke apart, and then I said, they are my favorite band. Good luck anyone trying to overcome that, because I absolutely love that. Ben Brown, for me, who is somebody who I want to talk about as my favorite YouTube creator, or one of them.
Yeah, he's up there for me too.
He's just such a prolific creator in the realm of travel vlogging, and really polished, well-executed travel vlogging, in a style that we were saying a second ago. There are styles that age well.
Yeah.
His style is not. His style is so subtle and sort of masterful of the travel vlog. Yep. It's a great example of just making the same thing over and over and over, and just perfecting that, like mastering that art of making the same kind of video.
Yep.
And he did that so well for such a long time. He's since sort of fallen off. He's come back, and it's a little different now. But for the longest time, he was just prolific. He was all over the place. He would go to, 1 week you're like, you've come across his channel, and he's like, I'm in the Serengeti. I'm hanging out with some rhinos, right?
Yep.
The next week he's touring with a band, because he has a friend who has a band. He's touring with them, which is super interesting, right? Then the next week he decides, I'm going to go to Antarctica on an expedition, which are some of his best vlogs, right? And then he goes to, New Zealand, and then he's in the Maldives, and he's just a truly prolific travel vlogger.
Yeah. And
his style is something that just really stands apart from anything I've ever seen, or anything that's out there.
Totally agree.
The closest comparable person is like a Fun for Louie for me, but even his style is not quite this level of polish. And you watch Ben's stuff, and it's just good. Like, you're just like, man.
Fun for Louie is like an OG, but
right.
I kind of get bored a little bit on his videos.
Yeah, but he's been at it for so long.
So
I feel
long,
like.
dude.
Yeah. Well, his personality is, I think, what gets him along. I think he's got.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it boils down to the
unique
person.
sort of humanity-driven kind of personality that's interesting, and his videos are great. And I always know that I can find a new Fun for Louie vlog, right?
They're always. I don't understand how he keeps up with that, dude.
Yeah.
He kills himself over that.
And then he decided, I'm gonna get in a plane and fly around the world.
I know.
Like, that's so interesting. I love that stuff.
It's crazy.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I could break it down in more detail with Ben, but really it's just, he has a really sort of smooth personality. He's got a lot of finesse in his delivery of things. And he had his relationship with his girlfriend, and that was really nice. He has his favorite Land Rover, Pumbaa. Yep. And he had, BMW gave him a motorbike. So all these adventures. He's just going on adventures. And one of the things that I love about him so much is in terms of the meaning of his stuff, is he has always been sort of, in many different senses, where I want to be in my life.
Right.
And he continues to be that. And so I would watch him. One of the reasons I would watch him is because he inspired me to continue to close the gap between me and the things I love about him. Right. And his.
In what way?
Okay, so, traveling, for one, his financial independence, this idea that he's making money doing the thing that he loves.
Right. And
that he has such freedom, seemingly, at least from my perspective. Right. He has, so even if it's not what's actually going on behind the scenes to an extent, what I'm seeing, I have this persona of him that I understand may not be completely accurate to what I think it's fairly accurate, but maybe it's not quite completely accurate, and that's okay, honestly, because I can understand how to not make that be an unhealthy thing.
Right.
But I look at him in his house in, South Africa, and I go, that's really interesting. Like, I love his house. I love that he can, and I love that he can make his money on a daily basis, working with other brands that say, hey, we'll fly you out to this place and just talk about our hotel as you go.
Right.
That's that sort of thing. And it's sort of vague. I suppose it's hard to nail it down. It's like Jell-O on a wall.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? It's hard to nail down, but it's just like I just everything about his lifestyle is really interesting to me. And so I'm inspired by that. And so I use him as a means to inspire me to keep working hard towards what I'm after. But he's also not, his entire persona is not about working.
Right.
It's about a lot of other things. Whereas a lot of creators, their entire persona is about working. And there's a place for that, but, Okay, so moving on. Favorite, so this may be within the YouTube realm.
Okay.
But this one may set itself apart as well. Favorite filmmaker?
Ooh, interesting.
Ready for that one, were you?
Kind of cliche, but I always enjoy a Wes Anderson film.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
To be honest, I'm not much of a cinema junkie. What film did he make that I would know?
He's done Moonrise Kingdom. He's done Grand Budapest Hotel.
Heard of it, never seen it.
Royal Tenenbaums.
Never seen it.
The new one that just came out, Isle of Dogs.
Okay, never seen it.
Oh man, you're missing out.
I'm sorry. I need to. I really need. I need to.
Good.
I need to dig more into, because I love when I find a really solid movie. Film.
Mm-hmm.
It's the correct terminology. Film. Don't want to offend anyone. I am immersed in it. I absolutely love it. Like, I've always loved like the Coen brothers. Like, the stuff that they've put out is super unique and interesting. I've always loved their style.
Yep.
I've always loved this sort of their style has a lot of you can find a lot of sort of simple lockdown shots that are just beautifully composed.
Yep.
And this isn't the Coen brothers, but like even Napoleon Dynamite, I think is a beautifully filmed film.
It's a great movie.
Like the way that they shot their angles and the way that everything is, and
that
the
whole
colors.
Movie was great.
Yeah, the color palette of the entire movie.
Oh,
all
dude,
of that.
you need to watch Wes Anderson. It's all about color palettes, and
I've sort of seen his stuff.
It's
I just
very
can't put it with
theatrical.
it. Yeah,
you like it. It's cool.
Yeah, and so I'm that stuff to me is mental candy. So I'll have to check that out for sure.
They're good.
Okay.
Super rewatchable too.
Yeah. Favorite filmmaker. I didn't really think about this one a lot, so I could have a better answer for this, but I will pick a film instead of a filmmaker.
Okay.
So I'm gonna break my own rule. One of my favorite films of all time is a film called Undercity. You ever heard of this one? Okay.
No.
So this one is, I originally found it on Vimeo.
Okay.
And it is a 20 or so, 20, 30, I think it's 20, 25 minutes, something like this. It's a video back in the beginning stages of DSLR cinema photography, when you had the 5D Mark II.
Prime time, dude.
Everybody's heads exploded out of their ears because they were like, what? I can make this look like a movie because, it's full frame. I can put a lens on the front that's f1.2.
That was super exciting.
And then it's like, how can we figure out how to get only your eyelash in focus?
Yes.
That's going to be the style for the rest of eternity. And luckily we pulled back from that a little bit, even though I did enjoy a lot of that.
I love that. That's like what made me become a filmmaker.
Yeah, and it's I was definitely in that realm for a long time. It's a really beautiful look. But so right when that sort of came out, I think I'm setting this up because I think this was a big part of why this film got some recognition. There was a guy who took a 5D Mark II, I think it was, and a shoulder mount, and followed this guy who was an explorer through the subway tunnels of New York City.
Cool.
So this guy, this guy who he was filming is it's his hobby, it's his pastime to illegally wander through the tunnels, the subway tunnels in New York City. And so I recently visited New York City, so I was able to kind of like, it sort of came full circle for me, and I think maybe it reminded me of the film. But so the beginning of the film is just him walking, they're just walking through a subway tunnel, and he's looking for workers, and they're talking a little bit, and it's just one guy with a run and gun camera, which has always been my favorite kind of filmmaking, right? Documentary style. Yeah. And so he wanders down into the tunnel, and they're looking for trains, and he's like telling him, hey, by the way, and the guy has like this super sort of laissez-faire, I suppose, type of personality towards what he's doing and everything. Just like doesn't give a crap kind of guy.
Whatever.
Like,
we'll be fine.
Yeah, I don't care what you... Right. And it's sort of this humor of the juxtaposition. Right. And so at one point he's like, hey, so make sure you don't touch the third rail. That'll kill you quick. And make sure when the tracks change, make sure your foot's not in between it because it'll catch your foot. So it's just this, you know. And so they're just wandering through the tunnels and hiding. And it's another thing was the low light capability. That was a big deal. Yeah. Like everybody was freaking out about how you could shoot in low light situations. Yep. And the 5D Mark II could pull that off well. And so, and it's still, once again, it still holds up. Like it's still timeless in the way that it was filmed, the way that it looks. And so, you know, the train's coming by. There's one point where they wander into a subway, old subway station that was built long time ago, and they don't use it anymore because the new subway trains are built differently, and the subway station was actually curved, and the trains couldn't, when they come through there, they make a horrible screeching sound. And so they wander into the subway station that you're not allowed to go to, and beautiful tiling on the roof.
Cool.
Really, yeah. And so there's a point where, and there's this tension throughout the whole thing, because you're not told anything about what's happening really. You just start to learn, okay, this guy likes to wander the subway tunnels. Right. The whole time you're thinking, I'm about to watch someone die. Like that's sort of in the back of your head the whole time.
I love that though.
Right.
I was really excited.
Right. And so he, there's one point where the train comes and they have to hide behind a thing so that the train doesn't see them, and then they have to get, the most tense part of the video is when they have to get out of a tunnel that doesn't have sort of walls where you can get away from the train. And so you hear he's talking about something. He's like, oh yeah, remember I showed you this thing, and all of a sudden you hear the sound of a track shifting or a train or something like this. No. And all of a sudden you're like, you just hear a train coming and they're running. And so as you're watching this, like, as somebody who loves documentary films, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. So anyway, they wander and explore, and it's beautifully filmed, and it's super simple. It's super minimalistically filmed.
I need to go watch this.
It's really good. I'll show you maybe after this. Very quickly, we're going to cut this off super quick because we've hit 30 minutes. Oh, and we don't want our cameras to explode. We'll be right back. Hi, we're back. Next, we're going to talk about, very briefly, what is your favorite musician?
Ooh, tough one. This is hard because I go between liking more like digital hip-hop, electronic music, and then back to more like analog, like guitar and drum kind of
I'm just hearing Kanye West. That's all I'm hearing from you right now. No, okay.
Not so much. Not so much with his crazy tirade recently.
Well, let's make this political. That'll be a fun way to.
Let's not. Politics get me. Just get me gone.
They get everybody, man.
I know. Let's see. I'm gonna go with, because I always go back to him. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
What?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're off to a good start with the name. I'm sure something is bound to follow that is wonderful.
Yeah. They came out with 5 albums last year.
Okay.
In a single year.
Okay.
But they jump around a lot. They go from like
5
just
albums.
like acid punk, like hardcore in your face, to like really chill, like acoustic only, like jazzy stuff. Mm-hmm. To like this weird like Middle Eastern vibe. Mm-hmm. It's all over the place, but they are so good. Mm-hmm. Their live shows are just over the top. They're a crazy band. They're
like
really,
energy-wise?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're like I feel like they're really pushing the edge when it comes to music. It's just something totally new and really interesting, and they just do some weird stuff, and I love it. Mm-hmm. They're way good.
Super cool. I'll check them out.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that. This is by no means one of my favorite bands, but you just said like they're kind of all over the place. The craziest band I've ever seen, not like live, but I've experienced, there's a band called The Locust.
Okay.
And I don't even know what they are. I guess you would consider them a hardcore band. They're pretty intense, but there's no melody to what they're doing. It's noise and chaos.
Is it like a noise band? Because that's an actual genre.
You could call it that.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never heard of a noise band, so I don't know what that means.
It's like not really music.
Yeah. It just like sounds
just
like didgeridoos and goats and stuff.
And I can't even explain it.
Okay.
It's so weird.
Okay. Well, so with this band, what you have is they literally dress up like a bunch of locusts on stage, and the music is just like it's crazy. It's outrageous.
All right.
The reason I watch them is because it's just so hilarious to watch them live.
I get that.
Like they are sort of, they're getting into it. They're
right.
freaking, and so it's a lot of fun to watch. It's fun because you watch the people in the crowd.
Yep.
They don't know what beat to follow because there's no beat. So they're just like you have all these you have all these kids who have, family issues, and they're very emotional, and they're just like they don't know what to do.
Scream at me.
Yeah. And okay, so I mentioned Under Oath a second ago, but I'm going to go another couple of realms. Okay, first off, and did you know I'm a musician?
I didn't know that. I was going to ask you about the little keyboard over there.
Oh yeah, that's not what I do well.
Okay,
that's what I do mediocrely.
That's what I can do well.
But okay, cool. I've been playing drums since I was 4.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, so I can talk about music. I can talk. Got my syllables wrong there.
Music?
Isn't that right? Syllables or
I don't know.
What's the
something?
Is that syllables?
Maybe.
That
timbre.
You can see how much school did for us. Timbre?
Maybe.
Okay, so I could talk about music for a long time. I think that's one of the topics I could go on and on about because I really love music. I think it's such a fantastic art form. There's a band called Snarky Puppy. First off, do you like Snarky Puppy?
That's up there, dude.
Yeah, dude. Snarky Puppy's ridiculous. I love really complex music, but also complex music that is married with melody well.
Okay.
Right? Like you can feel a groove.
Right.
And also there's an emotionality to it.
Right. That
is not just complexity for the sake of complexity. Like I listen to some old composers that people really love. Mm-hmm. Not often, but every now and then I will, and it's complex and sort of genius,
right?
But at the same time, I can't feel it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's different.
So with Snarky Puppy, it's like you get a lot of complexity. Whenever I listen to it with my wife, it just overwhelms her because there's so much going on.
Yeah, my girlfriend doesn't.
Snarky Puppy is just you take 16 people who are just the best musicians on the planet and put them in a band.
Oh my gosh!
And hope for the best. Like,
Michael League is just unreal. Dude.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. And so I love. There's a song. If I will recommend any song, there's a song called "Lingus." You ever heard that one? There's
that whole studio recording that they did in front of like the audience. In the studio is just...
yeah. So they did this thing where they put headphones on everybody in the crowd. Just like the musicians would have, and they all listened to it.
Maybe 20 or 30 people.
Yeah, it was pretty small. Yeah. It's pretty small. They put all the headphones on the people, and they all sat in the crowd and listened to the music as it was playing, mixed in their headphones. Yeah. But they're all together in a live setting. It's really interesting. So, which is a great.
I feel like it's better to watch it than watch and listen rather than just listen.
Yeah, and
it's good just to listen to, but watching it and listening is just a whole different experience.
Well, it's a great place for a brand deal too for those headphones. But
I know.
So it sort of has this filthiness factor to it because there are points where you're just like you're laughing because it's so good.
It's just like,
what is happening right now? And there's just a legendary synth solo by Corey Henry at the end.
Corey Henry's on freaking real too.
Dude, him and an organ is another thing. But just inspiring stuff. Like it just makes you want to be a master at whatever you do.
Yeah.
That's why I love it.
Yep.
And I pull that from music I pull that from music very strongly. This sort of like, I want to be good at whatever I'm doing in my life because I'm watching these people be so good at, be so masterful at their thing. Right. Drums, keys, horns, whatever. And so there's that. Another band that leans way more on they are rather complex, and I think they're also a band where sometimes you can't find a chorus, but they're more emotional as Bon Iver. I love them. Do you like them?
Yeah.
So I first found them through a live.
Just one guy, isn't it?
Well, so the lead guy is Justin Vernon.
Yeah.
But Bon Iver is the band. It's the ensemble of people. Okay. But he's obviously the most well known. But
my brother's a big fan of him.
Yeah. But their music is just incredibly emotional as well. But I don't know what genre to put them in. I have no idea. But it's just this beautifully,
especially the latest album. That one's
that one gets
so cool.
I think his brain broke on that one. Like the names, the titles of the songs don't resemble anything meaningful unless you know exactly what he's trying to do in his head. It's just like some numbers.
I love how it's super just experimental.
And an R. Yeah. It's like, but everybody, he's so well established now. Everybody's like,
I'm down with it.
That's Justin.
Okay,
he's insane. Like, let him do his thing, you know. Yep. But yeah, their music is wonderfully melodic and emotional, but also complex and very genius.
Yeah.
And the first time I found them was live. When YouTube will stream Coachella live, right? Okay. I found them through that recording, and I think Coachella has changed a lot since then. But I just see this band on stage, and there's like 30 members. It's like an orchestra on stage. There are these lights on these poles everywhere. They're like old. I think the lights, the coverings for the lights were these old, like power line. Crap! It's what they used to use for power lines, and I think they would wrap the power line around them, and they're glass.
Yeah,
and you can see through them. Yep. And so anyway, I just see this orchestra, and I'm listening to the song I remember so distinctly was Beth Rest. Okay. Do you know that one?
I think so, yeah.
It's the one that's like super 80s electronic, his voice. He does the vocoder thing. Yeah. And he does a very similar thing on the newer album. But I'm just listening to this, and he has one mic for his normal voice and one mic for his other voice. And I'm listening to this, and the drums are so epic because on the song, well, on the recording, they're actually not that epic, but the live version they are. And you give me epic drums, and I'm gonna love your band. Oh, yeah. So it was just like these like 80s reverbed drums, sick, like that. And I'm just watching this, and I'm blown away. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life. They had horns on stage. There's this black guy with an afro who's their auxiliary drummer, and he's got a triangle. He's just going at it over here. But it's the emotionality of the music, I think, is what I love so much about it. It's something that sort of speaks to you in a way that you can't quite, maybe it's hard to articulate. Right. And that's what music has the power to do, I think. And I think that all art has its own version of that. But I think we were talking about just before we started, it's like super important to be inspired by a diverse set of influences from all sorts of different art forms, and even outside of what you would call a traditional art form. I pull inspiration from so many things, and I've also grown this affection for like efficiency, and I learned a lot of that from working at Starbucks, at a coffee shop. It's like it's all efficiency, right? And it's efficiency mixed with trying to interact with the customer. So you have to deal with. You have to deal with doing things as quickly as possible. And so I found the value of that. I was like, oh man, it's intoxicating to try to figure out how to do things faster and make systems. I love that stuff. So all of that makes you a more diverse creator, I think. Would you agree?
Yeah. I think it's touching on what you said earlier, kind of taking a step back, is when you were talking about seeing someone being so good at what they do that it inspires you to be good at what you do. So like the other day, this is super random. I went to Stars on Ice.
Okay.
My girlfriend's grandparents bought us tickets, and we went in. And we were like, "This will be interesting." It's all the Olympic ice skaters.
Oh, okay.
Figure skaters.
Okay.
And they all do a bunch of numbers to songs or whatever.
Whoa.
And we went and we were like,
"That's Kanye, probably."
There wasn't. I wish there was, though. That would have been interesting.
I know, that would...
Anyways, they're insane to watch. Like, it's just unreal the amount of talent they have, and they truly are like the greatest in the world at what they do. So watching that, I stepped away, and it was... I don't know how to ice skate. Like, I've been maybe twice in my life, and I wasn't that good.
You don't know anything about the logistics of it. Yeah.
But it was so inspiring to see how incredible they were that it instilled some influence in me to be better at what I do. So. Yeah,
to take your fish restaurant business more seriously.
Yes.
Right? Sorry, I touched your hand. I hope that wasn't weird.
That was Monday. You're good.
Oh, okay. It was fleshy. All right. Well, okay, we'll wrap this one up. I would love to hear your thoughts, and thank you so much for watching. I think we should do more of these, because these are fun.
Yeah, these are fun.
Have a lovely day. Goodbye.